Oh, it looks like we got about everybody. We'll go ahead and get this started. This is 7 steps to skyrocketing sales performance. My name's Justin Weatherby. I'm a solution engineer with BuildOps. I've got 10 years of construction software experience, and then another 10 actually out in the field. Essentially, my whole career has been in construction. And I like to give my intro first. That way, Woody doesn't overshadow me. So I'm joined today by Woody Woodall. Woody, for the very few folks who don't already know who you are, would you give a little bit of background on your experience?
Sure. Thanks, Justin. My name's Woody Woodall. I've been in the industry for well over 47 years. Started out as an apprentice, worked my way through my apprenticeship, worked as a mechanic for a number of years, got an opportunity to move into the office. Make a long story short, I've probably held just about every position you can hold in a construction service organization. Been blessed to be around some of the best and brightest in the industry. And I've learned a lot from them, and I'm hoping I can share some of that with everybody today. And I'm looking forward to learning from all of you as well. If you've got some cool things that you're doing as Justin and I go through these slides, please let us know. We would love to learn a little bit about what you're doing and some of the successes you've had when it comes to sales performance.
Yeah, I mean, Woody's being real modest. He is definitely, a celebrity in the industry. He's been at the top level of a bunch of different associations within the industry as well. So, great resource, Woody. We're really happy to have you today, and appreciate you talking to taking some time to talk to the folks about something that I think at least the folks that I talk to are always trying to grow and improve on, which is on the sales side.
Sure. Thanks, Justin. I appreciate that, buddy. Um, ladies and gentlemen, more than anything, with everything we do in our service industry, we have to have a plan. We have to have specific procedures that are set up for us to be successful. And if you're a manager or a leader in your organization, it's up to you to really help your group devise that plan and that process. The interesting thing about it is there are a lot of folks that just sort of, and I've worked at places where I've come to work and first day they give you a pad of paper and a laptop and they go, good luck, and we'll talk to you later. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about being proactive and interactive with your teams to make sure that they're hitting the mark every single time. I heard a saying a long time ago, excellence is not an act, it's a habit. Therefore, we are what we repeatedly do. And so that's the same in sales as anything else. If we are focused on being excellent, if we devise our processes and procedures, and that's what we're going to talk about today, we're going to be excellent every single time. And what does that do for us? That gives us and our people an opportunity to become not just good, not just okay, but great. And that's what I'm hoping some of you today can walk away with. The fact of the matter is, we have a 7-step process, and this process has been around for a long, long time. Most sales organizations use this process when it comes to selling service the way we do, and this process has been tried and true and been hitting the mark for a long, long time. The challenge, though, ladies and gentlemen, is to make sure that we follow this process succinctly. We can't make any shortcuts. We need to make sure that we hit all 7 of these to be able to assure that we're taking care of the client in ways we want to make sure we're taking care of them. So, the process is simply this: prospecting, number 1; first call or visit, number 2; surveys, number 3; preliminary estimate and verification. And we'll get to talking about this a little bit more, because this is something that a lot of companies or a lot of salespeople just sort of brush to the side. They don't see the value in it. The final estimate and also the excuse me, presentation and closing, and of course account management. And that all of these steps have ultimate value to the salespeople, the sales process, and the organization they're representing. And so if we're able to follow all of these processes succinctly and stay on mark, we're going to be very successful, and it's going to make all of our jobs easier and a lot more fun too.
Yeah, yeah, and as you were going through that, Woody, I see how each of these steps kind of relates and sort of builds momentum, to bringing them on as a customer. And then I'm really glad that you added that last one in there for account management, because the sale only starts at close. Really, a lot of folks say that the sale starts once you close the deal, because if we're trying to grow our business, what the easiest way to do that is word of mouth. So once
Right.
we've gone through all of this, we need to make sure we're managing those accounts well. Now, again, down here at the bottom of your Zoom controls, or maybe it's at the top, depending on where you all have it, look for a Q&A section. So I'm curious if anybody out there has a process like this in place today. Is it something that you all are working towards? Kind of explain a little bit. Just give us a quick snapshot of sort of what your guys' process looks today. If there was anything in addition to these 7 steps that y'all might be doing, that way we can share that with the rest of the team.
Great idea, Justin. That's perfect. So prospecting, as we all know, the very first, every long journey starts with the single step, and that very first step is probably as important as any. Prospecting, identifying prospects who not only are looking for help, but they also match your company's capabilities, and I would suggest that also match your company's core values and things like that. The more we can align ourselves with our clients, the better off we're going to be. We need to develop a proactive prospecting plan, and Justin's going to talk to you about some tools here in a minute that, man, if I had that when I was selling in the field, boy, I would have been a lot more successful than I was, that's for sure. Develop the matrix that works for your team. Develop the numbers that work for your team. And what I'm talking about, we'll get into the numbers in a minute. But how many calls will equal that first visit? How many first meetings equals an opportunity or a proposal? How many proposals equals a win? And how many wins will it take for each one of your team members to be successful, to reach their goals or exceed their goals as they're moving through this process? If we're able to identify all of these numbers, and Justin and I did a program probably 6 or 7 months ago on managing by the numbers, and that's what we're talking about here, that exact process, managing by the numbers. Know how many calls it takes, know how many first meetings you have to get to, how many proposals you have to get on the street, and what is it going to take for your people to be successful at what they're trying to get accomplished.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, because too often we sort of stop with the plan, right? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, we have a plan in place. This is what we're gonna do to go after this work. But a big part of that is also having the backup to that, to have a plan in place to measure our success. Because if
Yeah.
we're not measuring something, it's going to be very difficult to manage it. And if we're not managing it, we're probably not going to get the outcomes that we're looking for.
And Justin, you're going to talk about measuring here in just a minute, which I'm extremely excited about. If it takes your salespeople, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I got a bit of a cold. If it takes your salespeople 8 to 10 calls to get a meeting, which is sort of the national average as far as cold calling and trying to find somebody, um, those are your numbers. If it takes 5 to 6 meetings to get an opportunity, and what I mean by that, very few people ever land a chance, walk in and get a chance to quote a job for a customer at that very first meeting. It's sort of an introductory thing. It's where we're trying to feel the customer out, learn more about them, understand what their challenges and their pain is, and move from there. And if it takes 3 to 5 opportunities to get a win, those are our numbers. That's how we go. As we proceed through this process, and as we proceed with what we're doing year in and year out, those numbers will come down. You'll find it takes you less calls to get that meeting. It will take you less meetings to get that first opportunity, and you won't have to put as many opportunities on the street to get wins. So that's how we get better and better, by measuring and monitoring those types of things for our clients and for our associates in the field. So Justin, talk to us about what you've got coming up here, buddy.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely got some cool stuff coming down the pipe here. And as I get into that, I also want to know how are you guys tracking this stuff today, right? So again, in that Q&A section, is this something that you're doing on a spreadsheet? Is this something where you're tracking it in like a paper method, or do you guys have a system in place? Curious what you all might be using to sort of track these opportunities today. And one thing that we always get, Woody, when we talk about sales is folks really have been asking us, how do I know who I should be selling to? How do I find the people I'm supposed to sell to? That's one of the biggest parts and it's and to your point in the 7 steps, it's the very first step, right? It's prospecting. And
That's
how are
right.
we able to, how can we effectively, prospect? Well, this is something that my marketing team didn't really give us clearance on to talk about. It's something brand new that we're rolling out, but it's Pipeline Plus. And what it allows us to do is gather information about the different buildings and different locations in our service area so that we can have a targeted approach to selling to them. This works all over the country, so it just happens to be I'm in the greater sort of New York area here, and I can it works just like a Google Maps where I can like zoom into a specific area and a specific property, and get information about the owner of that property, any permits that they might have pulled, the contacts at that location, so I know who to call. And then also, if those any of those contacts are actively searching for HVAC or electrical or plumbing or fire life safety types of services, we're able to know that that contact's looking for that information and being able to tune our folks in to that. Now what's really slick is obviously there's a lot of buildings in New York, and I'm going to be going after a specific type of building, some specific parameters, so I can filter this search down, right? The building, building type, the age of the building, if I'm looking for a particular owner or if they own other buildings in the area because I work with them here and I want to figure out if they own other buildings elsewhere. And then I can also look them up for like permits, right? So I want to see anybody who's pulled the boiler permit, I don't know, let's say in the last 10 years, right? And it's like, okay, here's my Huckleberry right here, right? So I can jump into this piece of property, see the owner details, if we've got any information on their equipment, and then all the permits that were issued. So it looks like in this case, back in 2018, they replaced the boiler, included a couple storage tanks, fuel pipe, gas piping, pining, um, and also looked like they maybe had a violation up here of some sort. But with that said, um, I'm curious, Woody, like this stuff didn't exist when I got into construction. We
Now,
were just knocking on doors, trying to figure this stuff out. I'm just curious, maybe how would you have leveraged something like this for prospecting, or how this might, make us more effective at prospecting the right customers?
Justin, there's so much you can do with this tool. If if you're a relatively new mechanical or electrical out there and you want to leverage, let's say, a 20 mile square around your building, your locations. Hey, let's go after these guys first, and then let's spread out further and further. We can lay it out that way. The other thing we can do is look for buildings, as you said, you can filter it down as to how many square feet are you looking for? Are you looking for what's type of work are they doing? Maybe you're not into the laboratory work, but maybe you want to get into maybe you're a general Class A, Class B office building maintenance company. All of those things can be leveraged down, and then you can take those leads, hand them out to your team, and say, okay, let's go get them. Let's see what we can do to bring some of these folks in. The other thing you have to consider with all of this is once you've found these folks and you've gotten a couple of key guys information, you can get on LinkedIn and other sorts of search engines that will sort of break down what that company's core values are, what they're focused on, what they're looking for, what's important to them as a company. I've found in the past the most successful we've ever been is whenever we're able to partner with a group that has similar likes and dislikes as our company. And we become very successful at doing that because that's what we look for when we are out there knocking on the doors and looking for things. You know, more than anything, ladies and gentlemen, with tools like this, we can do a lot of stuff by ourselves. Just a quick note before we move on. There are companies out there that will do the prospecting for you. And that's all well and good. And some of them are very successful at it. But what I'm suggesting to all of you is that with tools like this, you're going to be able to do a lot of that yourself. And the other part of it too is I'm a firm believer if you want your salespeople to become the very best in the industry, best in class, I think it's important that they're able to do all the parts of those 7 steps, not just pick and choose and cherry pick what they consider to be fun instead of some of the tougher things to do. And let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, prospecting's a tough job.
Yeah, and giving them a tool that they can get excited about so that they can take that tough job and feel like they can have a better impact and a more measurable impact, I think is huge. And once they've identified these prospects, we're able to then add that into our CRM tool. And essentially from there, what we're doing is, kind of the rest of the steps in the program, right? So we've done our prospecting. We know these are the buildings we want to go after. Now let's take those, add them to a campaign, put them into our CRM tool so that now we can actually start building proposals, tracking our touches, how many calls have we had, et cetera. So it all kind of ties in together, between the prospecting side. And then, once we've identified the prospects that we want to go after, bringing them into our CRM tool so that then we can start pushing those. So I guess before we move on, I just wanted to kind of throw it out there to the group. You'll see a pop up over here on your screen. Just curious if anybody out there would be interested in learning a little bit more about Build Ops Pipeline Plus tool or the CRM tool. Grab your mouse, answer the poll question real quick, and then we'll kind of pop back over here and let Woody talk about some of those other steps and essentially why they're so important for us to really have a successful sales team and be able to drive more revenue within our service area. Go ahead and we'll wrap this thing up, and then Woody, kind of as we get back into it, knowing the formula and talking about prospecting. Is there anything else you wanted to kind of add here on the prospecting front before we moved on to the next one?
Well, remember, sales is it's not an easy job. If you are a salesperson that hits 30 to 40% hit rate on your selling, you're tremendously successful. Prospecting is even tougher, and that's just one step of the sales process. So for those of you that are out there actively selling on a regular basis, make sure that you take the time to hone your skills, work with the people that you have, and if there are tools out there that are available to you, take advantage of those tools, because those tools those tools will make not only your salespeople more successful, but your company more successful, and your clients are going to love it, because every client that I have talked to in the last 10, 20 years, they're looking for companies that are cutting edge, focused on becoming the very best out there, and things like some of the tools that BuildOps has. That's what makes you cutting edge and the best in the world when it comes to really going after clients and servicing clients.
Yep, and Woody, I'll take this one here and give kind of a high level about learning. Woody mentioned this before, learning about your prospect, right? We want to sell to the type of people that share our values. So take that time to learn about your prospect. Create a list of bullet points to talk to them about. Find out if they've go on LinkedIn, find out if they've had any sort of awards or accolades, or maybe they go to their website, figure out if they are sponsoring any local sports teams or any local community organizations. I can't tell you how far it's been able to take me, and as far as building a relationship with a customer, just taking a little bit of time to figure out what what is important to them, and the organizations that they're a part of and the organizations that they sponsor, I think are going to be I think it's going to be really good. So I'm curious, it seems like a lot of the folks that I talk to do either participate in some industry organizations, or sponsor some local organizations. I'm curious, if you all don't mind, use that Q&A section, give a shout out, right, to the your local organizations or whomever you might be supporting on your side, because if you're supporting them, we want to be able to support them as well. So feel free to drop that in the Q&A section. Ask questions. What sort of challenges are they having, and understand where what is the underlying cause of those challenges, so that when they're talking to you about the issues that they're having, know that there's always one level deeper to that onion on why they're actually having those issues. And be respectful of their time, right? If you're going to take 15, 20, 30 minutes of their time, keep it in that window, right? You don't want to be the type of salesperson who slips his foot in the door and then it's like they have to close the lights on to get you all to leave, right? It isn't, you know what, at this point, it's not so much talking about your company and what you offer, because before you want to do that, you want to understand more about their team and their challenges. That way you can position your company in a little bit of a value there. Woody, I want to give you a quick breather, but what
Yeah,
else do
appreciate
you
it.
have to add here?
Yeah, and one of the points that we talked about a little bit here is truly understanding what their pain is. The purpose for that, very simply, is once we've learned what their challenges are, what their pain is, now we can come up with a solution to help them take care of that pain, to relieve that, to take that off of their plate. So now we're adding value right from the beginning, right from the very first meeting. We're bringing opportunities for them to become better, more positive, more focused on what they have to do, and go from there. A few thoughts further. Take clear and concise notes. Make sure you're writing everything down as fast as you can. Highlight the most important information that you tried to do. A big part of that first visit too is doing your homework ahead of time. Learn as much as you can from the internet, from other contractors that are working in there or have worked in there, or people that do work for that same company. Learn as much as you can so you can start to identify some of the important things that you want to make sure you ask this client. Make sure you ask lots of follow-up questions. And for those, most of you are probably salespeople. I don't have to tell you that already. You know that it's important to listen, and it's important to ask those follow-up questions. Confirm clear next steps in this relationship. We used to call it a clear future. When you walk away from that meeting, make sure you have a clear future with that client and what the next step is. Are you going to provide him with more information? Are they going to provide you with more information? And then when are we going to get back together again? When can we talk further? Let's have a cup of coffee someday. Let's go to whatever it might be, because that's the next step in building that relationship and taking care of business for this client and for your company.
Yeah, and a big one that you have here, Woody, that I'm a big fan of is, send them a thank you note, right? Reach back out and let them know how much you appreciated their time, because that'll go a really long way to sort of developing that relationship, and hopefully get you all involved in future projects that they may be running.
And Justin, there's lots of ways to do that. We can certainly send a quick text. We can send an email. That's nice and easy. But things that you don't see every day anymore, and something that is really impactful for folks, is to write a handwritten note. Send
Yep.
it back to them and let them know that, hey, listen, it meant a lot that you gave us the time. It means a lot to us to hopefully bring you as part of our team.
Yep, and if you learn enough about the prospect beforehand and with your conversation with them, it's really easy to personalize that thank you, right? If you find out that
Absolutely.
they're big outdoorsmen, or
Yep.
that they're really into one thing or another. I've seen it within our organization. I've seen it within other organizations. Taking that extra time to handwritten note. I still have handwritten thank you notes from folks who have written me. I save those. The
Yep.
emails I delete, that those handwritten notes are actually in my filing cabinet right here.
Yep.
So that thing I think is really personal, or any other personalized thank you that you can send their way, I think is definitely huge. And kind of getting to the next step of this is, let's take a look at what we're supposed to be, or what the customer needs from us, and analyze and survey what's available to them.
Yep. And so I know all of us come from different backgrounds and have got things that we've done in our past that maybe lead to becoming a mechanical electrical salesperson. Maybe not. Some of us might have lots of information and lots of experience working on equipment. So as far as looking at a chiller and breaking it down and understanding how it works, you've got that already. But for some of us, we're probably just starting out. And we haven't had the opportunity to do a survey, walk a building, talk to the client knowledgeably about his challenges and how his equipment is working for him right now. So it's important, if you are in that category where you don't have as much, haven't had as much opportunity to be out and looking at mechanical or electrical equipment, make sure that you don't be too prideful. If you need somebody to go with you, talk to the service manager and ask him to send a good service tech, or maybe another salesperson who is a little more knowledgeable or has some experience in the field, whatever that may be. Make sure that you go there prepared the first time to do this survey and analysis. This is where we have the opportunity to really drill down with the client and understand their challenges of their infrastructure and what's going on with their infrastructure. What are the important parts? What happens if the building goes down? What effect does that have on the building engineer or whoever your person is that you're talking to? Do they have to send people home? Are there clients that are relying on them to stay up, and so will that cost their clients money? All of those types of things are things that come out of the conversation as you're walking the building, looking at the survey and understanding things. Make sure that you don't forget things like access to the building, where the access to the equipment. What sort of resources might we need? Do we need a man lift to get up to this piece of equipment? Or do we have to have harnesses because we're close to the edge of a building when we're doing that? Safety is a huge thing to consider. Safety is a big part of what we're looking at. We want our teammates to be able to do things in a safe manner. Does the work have to be, because can the work be done on regular work hours, or do we have to come in on night work or shift work or something like that? So those are all the types of things that we're trying to get out, trying to understand about this particular building that we want to become the service provider for.
Yeah, and keep that in mind too, because too often folks want to estimate this based on a spreadsheet of the list of equipment. Make sure you go out on site and understand where this equipment is, what the access looks like, because that in and of itself may greatly impact the number, right? And you don't want to be caught in a position where you're not able to provide them great service because there wasn't enough in the budget to be able to do that. So you're doing them a favor as well as doing yourself a favor to sort of understand those conditions.
Justin, we had a job, a particular building we were looking at. The salespeople went out, a sales guy went out and did exactly what you said. Took the list of equipment from the client, which is great to have,
Yeah.
but didn't walk the building. Come to find out, above the drop ceiling, which was 9 foot, above the drop ceiling, there was another 9 foot. And all of the equipment was all the way up there. So now we needed to rent man lifts. It took two people to do it instead of one person. It can greatly impact your pricing when you're trying to get this done. And it also shows the client that you care, that they're looking and you want to make sure you're taking care of it the proper way. So it's an important step, and it behooves us to be as efficient as we possibly can. The other thing that we got in here is the step number 4, preliminary proposal and pricing. And I had stated earlier, this seems to be the one step that sort of gets bypassed. And there's a couple of reasons. And some of them are valid reasons. The client sometimes doesn't have time to have this type of meeting. They're busy as busy can be. But it's important, and it will behoove that client, and you need to be able to help them to understand the importance of this preliminary proposal and pricing. Because more importantly, you need to show him ahead of time, hey, listen, this is what we saw. This is what we think it's going to take to get the job done properly. And oh, by the way, our ballpark figure pricing wise is right here. This is where you can start asking questions about budget, where we are as far as pricing is concerned. Are we way out of line from your last service provider, or are we in the ballpark? All of those things go a long, long way. The other thing that happens with preliminary proposals is it eliminates the opportunity or the chance that you might mess up a little bit. You might forget a piece of equipment, or maybe forget that you have a 9-foot drop ceiling, 9 feet above the drop ceiling that you have to work on. And so it's important that you do that type of due diligence to get all of these things taken care of. The thing that's best about this, though, is the fact that you get one more opportunity to spend time with your client, talk to them more, share with them how important they are to you and what you're trying to get accomplished. In many cases, this type of meeting can be the setup for the success that you're hoping for. A lot of companies don't focus on this, leading to a misneed or a misunderstanding, or maybe we didn't completely know that we had to do this type of work on off hours. This is our chance to bring this into a fine, beautiful package for the client, so that when you go back to do your proposal and your presentation, you've got everything considered, everything taken care of, and the client's going to be happy with what you've got proposed. We talked about this a lot of times, Justin, you and I. There's nobody out there that wants to be the cheapest guy in town. Everybody wants to be fair, but there's everybody out there that wants to be the best value in town. And this is how we do this. This is how we build this value. This is a big piece of that. And as our salespeople go through, they understand our value proposition, and they make sure that they share that value proposition through meetings like this with the clients, so that they understand that, man, these guys are really focused on high level value from start to finish.
Yeah, agreed. And you want that opportunity to get any sort of clarification. And then also, to your point, this meeting, and it's one of the things that gets skipped. It gives you that opportunity to also show why your company is providing a higher level of value to them than another company. And then it's a great place for intel to figure out, like, hey, where are we? Did we miss something? Like, did I miss that there was actually another way to access this? And maybe, maybe I overinflated what was necessary, and they could point that out to me. Or
Right.
maybe, to your point, we, there are other people bidding against us, and they'll give us a tell on, where we sit in that process, so that we can take the appropriate steps to make sure that we're providing enough value for us to, become the contractor, the preferred contractor.
Absolutely, absolutely. Number 5 is that final estimate and proposal. And I would highly recommend, whenever possible, to have this meeting face to face. Zoom would be the next best, but emailing a proposal in, emailing an estimate in, is no way to really start out a great, hopefully, relationship with a potential client. We want to make sure that we're there face to face. And what that gives us the opportunity to do, ladies and gentlemen, is why we get a chance to talk to the client about their pain, and how we're going to alleviate all of that pain throughout, how we're going to be focused on them and their needs, and why we are absolutely the most prepared and most creative and most sought after mechanical service provider in our geographic area. We need to make sure that at this meeting, this is where we get a chance to talk about our bells and whistles and all of the wonderful things that our company can do and all of the resources we bring to bear to the client. If something goes south, how many trucks can we get out to alleviate these problems, during an emergency situation? The other part of it too is, it gives us and our salespeople a chance to sort of be creative. We can create a masterpiece of a proposal and a presentation. We can make sure that the client walks away and goes, darn, these people, they covered everything and they've alleviated 4 or 5 of my pain points. They're not the cheapest guys in town, but they certainly have the best value in town. And that's what we're looking for, is a company that's going to partner with us, that's focused on us, and is trying to help us, period.
Yeah, and I think another opportunity that we have kind of during this during this specific step here is to you know be, be be able to educate our customer,
Yeah,
right, on
yeah,
why they need these services provided to them, because you have to, like, we've been in the industry so long, you and I, Woody, and a lot of the folks here on the call today, I'm sure, have 10, 20, 30, 40 years of experience. We tend to forget too often that our customers don't typically have that experience,
yeah.
and so they're looking to us not only to be a service provider, but also to be an educator. So when we're talking about, value that we're bringing to, to them, it's not just in the services that we provide, but also for the education that we can give them to ensure that their operation stays up and running.
Absolutely, Justin. That's a great point because, one of the big reasons I've been successful selling in the past is because, hey, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Customer, we're going to provide training to you and your people. We're going to be able to help you with resources that are unbelievable. We're going to be focused on rebates and ways we can save you money, and all of those things equate value. All of them.
Yeah, I'm putting together, a comprehensive plan for them, not just maybe for the services that they're looking for today, but also a plan that they can start, accounting for, different needs in the future, because eventually, to your point, it's going to be worth it, no longer just fixing this broken equipment, but actually upgrading, because we could have energy savings, et cetera, rebates, based on that as well.
Right, right. So number 6 is present and close. And so we've created this masterpiece of a proposal. We've identified all of the customer's needs completely. We understand what pain points they have, and we know how to alleviate many of those pain points. And we know that we have the people on board that would be best suited to serve them and take care of them. And when we do our presentation, as I said earlier, it's up to us to explain to them why we are the absolutely perfect contractor to be able to come in there. And I would suggest not even contractor, the perfect partner to come in here and do this type of work. Make sure that you have a plan for them. Make sure that they know that you have a plan. How are we going to take this maintenance contract over, or this particular job over? Let me share with you what we're going to do. First, we're going to identify the best people for this type of equipment. Excuse me. Second, we're going to make sure that we've identified all of the unique issues that are adherent with this particular building, and how we're going to take care of those things. And then you're going to share all of that information with the client. You're going to talk about stuff like your safety record. You're going to talk about, again, your resources. If you've got a prefab shop, what type of equipment do you work on? Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we don't just work on rooftop units. We work on boilers, we work on chillers, we work on mission critical stuff. We can do all of that. And if you've got other buildings that have that, we're your company. The most important thing, I think, and the thing that's kind of, it's a hard thing to do, because we might seem like we're a little presumptuous if we don't do this properly. but ask for the job. Talk to the client and find a way to fit it in. Hey, Mr. Customer, I got this beautiful pen for you. If you want, use it first to sign our contract. Joke around with them a little bit. Make it fun and friendly. And if you're able to do that, you're going to be successful. That's for darn sure.
Yep, and this gets overlooked so often. You need to ask for the work, and I think a lot of folks don't because one, they don't want to come off as being high pressure, and asking
Right.
for the job is not high pressure, right? It's
No.
but the other thing that people are scared about is the no, right? They don't want to hear no. But what you need to understand is that no is always accompanied by some next steps, some processes internally, right? Typically, that no isn't no, we're not interested in your services. It's just like a no, I'm not going to be able to put pen to paper today because
Right.
I need to go ahead and get approval from our building engineer, or I need to get approval from the management company, or now
Right. Right.
now you've uncovered other steps within their process that you can now help them with kind of as they're moving forward.
Justin, there's an old saying, the work actually starts when you hear that no. Now it's time for you to add that additional value, talk to them about what you can do moving forward and things like that. And speaking of moving forward, focusing on the future, become that close friend and ally, that trusted uh, counsel to whoever your point of contact is. Um, you become that account manager. You make sure that you stay in touch with these folks once you've landed the job. A big thing that I like to see from my salespeople is a communications plan. How often are you going to touch that client, and in what way? Meaning, are we going to shoot them an email from time to time, text them? Are we going to get out and visit them? What's going to happen? The goal here with account management is growing that relationship, making it that a better connection that we can make. Um, make sure that we understand that their core values and ours are pretty similar, and so we want to make sure that by managing this account properly, the client is always top of mind. I tell a lot of when I'm teaching a sales class or doing something as far as sales are concerned, I don't even use the word sales anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Our job is to help people. Our job is to identify their challenges and what they're up against, and how can we alleviate some of that? How can we help them? And so, if our main goal is to help folks, how can we not be successful if we're focusing on that? Know what's happening with the client. When you're an account manager, you need to know, hey, he just got a promotion up the rank, or somebody else got a promotion. You know who's on the org chart, who's lateral, below, and above him in a regular basis, so that you know who to talk to. If for one reason or another he decides to take another job somewhere, or gets an opportunity to go move up the ladder, who's the person that we're going to be answering to then? Identify all of that kind of stuff, so there's not a step that's missed when it comes to account management and taking care of this client and helping people. That's what we're actually doing. And we're looking for ways to do that. And a big part of account management is, hey, if their company's having a big company picnic, how can I help you with that company picnic? If they're having a Christmas party, how can I help you with that Christmas party? All of those things go a long way in solidifying that relationship that you've worked so hard to create and become a big part of.
Yeah, definitely. You want to embed yourself as part of their team, and folks don't often sort of. It's called like multi-threading. Basically, you've got your one point of contact. It's guaranteed at some point that contact's either going to move up or over to somewhere else. And if everything that you had riding on this relationship was that one contact, that's a single point of failure. So to your point, Woody, I can't say that enough. Hey, understand who are the other players at that organization. That way, when that contact moves, you know you're going to get his business, their business at the next stop, but you also want to keep this existing customer as well.
Right.
Our folks through the chat said, LinkedIn is a great place to keep an eye on that sort of thing as folks move
Yep.
around. I think that's a great point. And then, just staying in constant contact, keep providing, looking for other ways that you can provide value will just sort of naturally lend yourself into this multi-thread where you don't have a single contact that if left, you're kind of high and dry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so to wrap things up a little bit, in the sales process, if we don't grow our value, we lose in the market. And if we don't know what our value proposition is, we lose in the market. You have to stay focused. You need a system similar to what Justin was just talking about to help you measure your steps, measure your people's steps, and make sure that everybody is on the same path. Stay committed to empower your teams. Make sure that you work with them one way or another. Make sure that you're actively part of what they're trying to do and assist as much as you can. It helps everyone keep their own. It helps if everyone keeps their own score. That way, your sales team doesn't have to go, hey, how many proposals I got now? What's my hit rate? All that. Our salespeople should know that, but we as managers have to know that as well, and make sure that we're sharing that information and having those discussions with our team every chance we get.
Absolutely.
And then some final steps. Excitement breeds excitement, and it starts from the top. If our management team is excited about our focus and what we're doing, if they're excited about our value proposition, if they're working hard and adding value for the people that work for them, we're going to be successful. Staying aware of where your teams are in the process, help them with all of the challenges that they have. If they need a little extra training, do some in-house training on overcoming objections, on all of the things that salespeople have a challenge with. And then when teams are on the same page, everybody's focused and pulling that rope in the same direction, everything becomes a heck of a lot easier and we're a heck of a lot more successful. That's for darn sure. Justin, thank you very much, buddy. It's
Yeah,
been a lot of
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's some great information, out to the folks today. If you all had any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to get those answered for you. If you want to get a hold of Woody because you've got some, questions or some opportunities from him, again, reach out to us. We'll be happy to, forward that stuff along. And it's really all about setting that making sales a part of your culture because one thing that Woody mentioned on that last slide is that it really starts from the top down. And if you breed that culture and you have a culture of winning and of prospecting and of selling, that will permeate and become long lasting. What we're looking for is not a flash in the pan. Hey, we got this thing, we're going to roll it out, and it'll fizzle out in 6 months. No, this is part of who we are, who our DNA, what our DNA is, and always pushing that value, pushing that value to the customers. Because again, Woody says this so well. We're not out there selling. We're out there helping. These people need our help. They need our services. They need our expertise, and we're the ones that should be providing that service and that expertise to them. Woody, thank you so much for your time. We'll send this recording out to everybody once we wrap up here today. Again,
Yeah.
if you all have any questions from us in any way we can help, please reach out because, again, here at Build Ops, Woody himself, we're not out here just to preach. We're out here to actually help. So anything that we can do, we'll be happy to do that for you. Thank you all. Really appreciate everything.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you being with us today.